Aloha Kauai, mahalo nui loa, and thank you for joining us this week in yet another exciting and informative episode of Walaau. I'm Dickie Chang. Today we'll be speaking with our president and CEO of our Kauai Chamber of Commerce and the up-and-coming, I should actually say the active chairperson right now as we speak, the lovely Michelle Imura. We'll let you know about our annual closing of calendar year 2019 through the eyes and the future of 2020 through the eyes of our Kauai Chamber of Commerce. But first, we had an opportunity to do a wrap-up session with the calendar year 2019 and what we can expect in 2020 in terms of our visitor industry. And here is our executive director for the Kauai's Visitors Bureau, of course, our very dear friend, the lovely Sue Kanoho.
Well, we're all waiting for the final numbers to come in, but as of right now, we're down 1.5% in visitor arrivals, which is to be expected because of the Big Island having been down for the year prior, and we generated a lot of business as a result of the volcano erupting. So it was kind of expected to be down just a skosh. And so it's, so far we're down 1.9%, and I think we might end up maybe down 1% when it's all said and done.
But is that a fair assessment? Because like 2017 or in and around the 2018 prior to the flooding, that thing was just bazonkers beyond Thunderdome kind of. So there's different ways of interpreting what we're talking about.
Yeah, so if you compare us to 2017, we did well. We did really well. So it is, we've said to everybody, you really should be looking at 2017 numbers as a comparison because 2018 was an anomaly for us. We had Puerto Rico, we had Florida who had hurricanes. We had, of course, the island of Hawaii having their issue with the volcano, and a lot of people fearful, and so they ended up rebooking to Kauai. So we really benefited in 2018 as a result of that, and we expected it to drop just a little bit in 2019 because there was a lot of marketing for the island of Hawaii to say we're back. And of course, Puerto Rico came online until the earthquake that happened today.
So a couple of things, like sad but true with media and just people in general. When the Big Island's volcano is erupting, that circumference maybe was 1% of the entire island, and all of a sudden the whole island is on fire.
Correct.
When there's rain on our island of Kauai, it's like Kauai's the wettest spot on the face of the planet, and that whole island is sinking and or drowning. So
as a result of the flood, we knew that people had the same impression that the entire island was underwater. And so what we did is we got out right away with a map showing which side of the island and what part of the island was affected by the April floods. Same with the island of Hawaii. They needed to get out right away. But I'm not sure people understood the logistics of the island of Hawaii to know that it's a really, really small portion. And I think there was just fears of sulfur dioxide and just people unsure. So I just think that when you have instances where people are a little bit edgy, they're going to just try rebooking somewhere else.
And if you just joined us, of course, I'm here with our executive director, Sue Kanoho. We are recapping your luncheon, but I would say it was nothing short but a success, especially viewing the attendees. But it just seems as though this the cohesiveness of the industry and everybody getting along with one another. It doesn't matter if you do zip lining or tubing or horseback riding or golf. Everybody's in the same industry and everybody's just trying to help support one another. And with that being said, is really for the employment and the opportunities and business growth for Kauai's business sector.
Visitor industry, yeah. So when you look at it, the one thing that I think is really underestimated is the amount of give back that each of these companies do. And a lot of times they don't brag about it, and that's one thing that I like to do is to brag about what is really, really cool about Table 53 at Sheraton Kauai, or Holo Holo, they were doing some give back, and then Kipu Ranch Adventures did for Shriners. This specific tour, if you asked for that tour, they would donate to Shriners. They ended up giving really substantial donation for that. Not to mention, how whenever I need help for rooms, if somebody's suffered a tragedy and they need help, they'll step up and really help us. So it really does become a very close-knit group that I am very proud to represent because the amount of not only employment that they provide to the island of Kauai, but it's the give back that they also provide, and they don't talk about it besides Charity Walk, right? So there's Charity Walk is huge, and that's a great, great give back. But there's things along the way, and think about all the donations that you see at all silent auctions, at all events, coming from hotels and activities. So I saw Outfitters Kauai did food bank donations. If you bring a can, you can go for, I think it was $10, to do the zip line. So things like that where I just feel that they are really committed to this place long term and really committed to our community and to give back.
What I would like to echo upon I think most people sincerely and humbly really care about customer service because it's the front of the house, i.e. the check-in people or the rank and file, the employees, because that's the first impression and you don't have a second chance to do and give a first impression.
Right.
But many of these companies, they do what they do, but they don't make a big announcement what they're going to do, and half the time we don't even know what they're going to do until other people from not even from Kauai nationally will proclaim accolades and letting us know, wow, those are pretty cool guys that you do want to support. Right. Those that you had mentioned.
Yeah, well, we've had letters come in, and even in my own office, Christy Languendino, who's our, we call her the CIA girl, because she's like, she knows everything about Kauai, and so I'm always saying, people will come in and want to meet her just face to face and thank her, and they bring her gifts. They bring her from their hometown, you know, cookies or, you know, syrup or something, because they were so appreciative of the information that she provided. But each of the companies has that as well. And that's what's really cool about, as you know, getting out and doing an activity and seeing somebody and hearing from that local person who's born and raised here and what their perspective is and how they enjoyed this island and how they're sharing it with the people.
So we should give a little plug to our good friend Christy, because she is one of 5 and she has 4 brothers. And I like to always call Brother Christy. She goes Sister Dicky. But that's the kind of things that it just is natural that people just give what they need to give. You know, I always tease you and I always question you because we always ask, like, what do you do? And you're pretty much like a non-union somebody that doesn't have any kind of job description. But I think something really true and dear to your heart that I see the compassion and I see your eyes and I see your support is water safety, as to what the lifeguards are doing, what the training is doing, what Monty Downs and his staff is doing. And it is just so frustrating to have to tell people no, 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 or don't.
Right.
And when they do what they got to do, then you're the guys that got to put them in the body bags. And here comes Gina Ka'ula. Here are, you know, just distraught firemen, first responder, police officers, hospice, the medical staff, because most of the things I would say could invariably have been
avoided. Yeah, so water safety, as you know, I feel we've really ramped up in the last really 10 years to an amazing level, thanks to Kauai Lifeguard Association, to Monty Downs, you know, Andy Melamed when he was helping, and now Chantal Zarba. I mean, I feel Kauai does an amazing job with water safety, and as much as we can share with people, know before you go, and if in doubt, don't go out, is really, really important. And yet, we still have a horrible tragedy at Hanakapiai a couple weeks ago, and it was high surf warning. I mean, I don't know how anybody should really be at Hanakapiai Beach on a high surf warning at all. And then we had a couple days later, 6 people get injured and have to be medevaced out, so with helicopters. So I think that's the hard part right now, is I think people come with an intent to do something regardless of what the conditions are, and I think that's something we all need to really make sure that they understand. You know, today's not the day. I just got some complaints about Kalalau Trail being closed because it was having flash flooding conditions, and I'm like, so sorry, but you would be stranded or worse, and you know, could have been injured or worse. So, you know, I just think people underestimate the nature of this beautiful wilderness that's called Kauai, and they really need to be better educated as much as they can where possible about what the conditions are.
Well, there's several things that I just do want to say, and I'm not mocking anybody, but I do agree. There was an article in the paper that was talking about a rogue wave. Well, how do you not, what are you thinking about a rogue wave in December, in the winter, when you know there's the 20, 25, 35 foot swell? What are you talking about a rogue wave at Hanakapiai? Hello, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 have been killed in this area. It's like, I can understand a 3 to 5 foot rogue wave on the North Shore during the summer or something, but I mean, like, it's nature. It's not rogue.
Yes, and you know, I want to give props to, we're really special because we have Visitor Aloha Society of Kauai. Each island has a Visitor Aloha Society, but Gina at Life's Bridges and Sharon Edwards and her team, they do such a good job. We don't have to deal with that on the front end because they're helping on the grief counseling side of things, and then we're the logistics side. So whatever she needs, we work together on that, and it's one of those things where God bless them for going into the fire of dealing with some of the hardest times ever, and yet we're the logistics team in support. So I really am appreciative of what Kauai has here of a teamwork, you know, that always really comes together and does the right thing for the people, residents and visitors.
And it doesn't matter what business you are, because it's a sorority. It doesn't matter what company is in trouble or what company had a mishap. Everybody will jump in. Example, many of us don't want to talk about the helicopter industry. I've been involved in this visitor industry for over 40 years, and I do represent a helicopter company here on Garden Island of Kauai. But the one thing that made me teary-eyed and made me cry, and you know I'm a very emotional person, is the next morning when, what do? The island is packed, everybody's sold out. Do we go or do we not go? What's the proper etiquette? And it was just overwhelming to me that all the pilots that knew our pilot friend all wanted to go up, not because they wanted to go up to get their hours, but they wanted to be eyes and ears to be flying, looking for them. And I just was like, hey man, we're gonna go look for our friend. We're gonna fly.
Right.
And then when it was identified, and when the helicopter was spotted, located, then when they got back, in our case, enough, end the conversation, and we're down. And you talk about some of the people that, you know, go to the Hanakapi'ais or the Queen's Bath of the world and everything else, not adhering local knowledge and life. Some of the people were bummed out that they couldn't go. There was like no heart or no compassion that, excuse me, don't yell at us, but can you believe that there are people that died, families, you know, and I just couldn't get that, like, you know, like really, like.
Well, I'm really proud of this island. They come together in such a way that is so special that it makes me proud to represent them. And there's a lot that happens that we never talk about, and maybe I think that's the way Kauai people are, that they don't brag about it. But I have to say, I'm really, really proud of how each of the different industries come together. What can I do? What can I do? What can I help with? Liz Hoffman here, Cole of Kauai Marriott, she was really helpful to me a couple weeks ago, and just not even a question, what do you need? I'm there for you. And so that's the stuff, like you said, that really stands out in a moment of stepping up and going above and beyond the call of duty, and that's what's so great about Kauai.
So one of the toughest questions that you have to answer, because I remember the recession in and around the calendar year 2008, 2009, the theory or the motto was flat is where it's at. Like if we remotely break even and nobody loses money, but nobody makes money, that's a goal. And what kind of goal is that when you think about it? But 10 years later, soon thereafter, here's Kauai. Maybe Maui's enough. We don't like go Waikiki, and here's Kauai. So people say, okay, so what? When is enough? Infrastructure-wise, beach park-wise, just road-wise. I mean, how do you answer that kind of question?
Well, I mean, that's why the Kauai Tourism Strategic Plan says refocusing, you know, to achieve balance, right? So that's one of the things that we're all looking at. Where can we make change, or what can we do to help out? So even to the point of rental cars, some rental cars agencies are setting up satellite offices, so you don't have to rent a car from Lihue and only be Lihue and then throughout the island. You can, if you don't need it for 3 days, then you only need it for a couple days. Here's an opportunity to pick one up at this location. So that's huge to me to come off that, you know, 7 days you're here, you need a rental car, not necessarily. And so I just feel like it takes all of us, state, county, and private sector, working together as one to identify the areas that need attention. And there's a lot of areas that need attention right now, and we're all doing our best to make a difference. And like you said, infrastructure can only handle so many. I think 1.377 was the highest number we've ever had last year. And so when you look at this year, I think we're going to come just short of that, about 1.3 million, probably 1.350 which is down just a little bit. But that's, I think it's okay. You know, we're at one of those things where 1.3 is a lot of people. We should be happy with what we have and be grateful.
Well, Sukano, I saw an incredibly interesting stat passing through early in the morning, watching my morning news as I always do. But they started off with about 1 of 9 people on Oahu are tourists. And then I believe they said 1 of 7 on the Big Island are tourists. And they said 1 of 3 people on Kauai is tourists. Is that accurate?
That's true. So we have a population of 72,000 right now-ish. I haven't seen the latest number, but it used to be 72,000. And last year, every single month was a minimum of 100,000 visitors for the month. So when you think about it, that's about 28 to almost 30,000 when we're peaking a day. So 72 versus 28 to 30,000 visitors a day, average daily census. So 1 in 3 is a visitor. And that's why it's important for all of us to remember how do we make sure that the place is ready for our residents, and then also what's good for the resident will be good for the visitor.
But I think over the years, and I'm talking 50 years, 40 years, 30 years, I'm getting older.
We both are.
But in that sense, honestly and humbly, not because I'm a supporter, but I do believe more and more local people, whatever their assessments are, or people that were once visitors that moved over and now they got their piece of paradise, they don't want nobody else coming.
Right.
But I think many people will realize there's a multiple effect, in which case their grandson, their neighbor, their uncle, I mean, some way, shape, and form, whether you're in the back of the house, the front of the house, or whether you're making a lei or growing fruits or selling arts and craft, they realize, and they better realize right now, if something tragically would happen, there'd be a lot of hurting businesses.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the earthquake that just happened in Puerto Rico, and if that were to happen in any one of our top cities, that could cripple us, for quite some time. So in disasters, people don't travel for luxury, to go on a vacation. So it is, and as you know, I mean, there's many factors that impact us. Flights is really important, cruise ship as well. We have a busy harbor here. And so it does take all the things firing together as one to really keep things whole and be healthy and be a good industry for the island.
And actually, if you need help, no scared, ask, because you see a lot of visitors going down toward Kekaha or out toward Polehale, but they really support Kekaha, the Kokee Lodge and Museum, the Kokee Restaurant, which they're doing a good job, by the way, Waimea, the greater Waimea
Right.
town area and what have you, and then of course Lihui Kapa'a. But when people really needed help up on the North Shore, many people say, hey, you might not be able to get to the end of the road, you might not be able to get a permit, you might not be able to get to the shuttle, but all of Hanalei Town is
Still needs
revitalized.
business.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So that was, again, back to what happened to the island of Hawaii. Similar to us, people were, if the Walaau Trail and Hyannis State Park's closed, then I'm not going to the North Shore, period. And we were like, no, Hanalei Town's still open. There's things to do. There's places to see. There's places to eat. And so we had to get that message out. And that's been still a process. It's still not 100%. Although Christmas was really, really busy for them. So I think kind of that was a good opportunity for them. But as you know, they're doing work on the Hanalei Hill. So there's a little bit of closures going on and traffic. So that is going to impact every time there's an impact to the access. And so I think everybody just needs to realize, and certainly I think we've gotten really good feedback from residents about the Hyannis State Master Plan and how that has been really good. So a lot of people who've never been in for a long time to KA or to Hanakapiai or to taking the Walaau Trail all the way to the end, haven't done that in a long time, are now like raving about how it's so much better. So it's just getting the visitors educated now and having them understand you need advanced reservations. That's my biggest challenge right now.
Yeah, that's a hard challenge, because I get very saddened because I meet so much people every week. I drive people around the island proudly, and I can meet 2 people that are the nicest peas in a pod, and I can drive out to KA, but I got a license, but sorry, pal,
You can't get in.
these 2 don't have a reservation. But I just do want to echo on that. The parking lot is just superb.
Yeah, very
70
nice.
guests and visitors, 30 local resident stalls. But then you walk through a boardwalk made of recycled products over lo'i and taro fields. Then you walk through the how bush, which looks like a bat cave with crushed coral path. And you walk there, and then you walk, you meander, and
There's the
You're out
ocean.
at KVB Beach.
Yeah,
That's like wildly
beautiful.
crazy, you know?
Yeah, and you know, they've really, the North Shore shuttles made a big difference for the North Shore residents because before, as you know, the parking situation was horrific. And so that has really helped a lot. And we're still, you know, working on that too to make sure people get the message, do not park illegally. You will be ticketed and it's not going to be cheap. It can be up to $400, the ticket. So I just think that if everybody respects the signage and respects the rules, then we're all good.
And kudos to Joe Guy and friends and the people from the North Shore because it was a collaboration of course, the Kauai Visitors Bureau, the County of Kauai, the DLNR. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. The North Shore Lions Clubs. I mean, Joe Guy and his people. Special mahalo out to, you know, State Representative Nadine Nakamura.
Big time.
Of course,
and
we
Chipper Wickman. Yeah. So it's been a huge group of us where, when I say huge, it's probably about 20 of us working almost weekly. And thank goodness for Representative Nakamura, who's like scheduling that meeting and making sure we're all on the call and we're sharing information and what's working, what's not working. So when we say adaptive management, you know, that's what the state's looking at through state parks and saying, okay, this is working or that's not working, or we can do this to modify that. So it's a process, but everybody that respects the area appreciates the work that's being done.
So as far as State Representative, our good friend Nadine Nakamura is concerned, you see, Nadine, having a planning degree and being a facilitator helps you as an elected official big time.
Big time. Yeah, so we've been really grateful to her because she's holding the line and calling the meetings, and everybody shows up. And Chipper, of course, representing Lima Huli, of course, NTBG, and then, of course, he's from that area. So he's been able to give, kind of be the voice of the community and share concerns. And, you know, there's been quite a bit of concerns that have come along the way, and he'll say, no, that's not okay, or we can't do it that way, or we need to make sure we're considering this, and the community will speak out. And so we're doing as much as we can where we can, and it's, like I said, an ongoing process of adaptive management.
And Haoli and Chipper Wickman are so respected that Brother Chipper just recently got his own bronze
statue of him. Yeah, much to his dismay, by the way. He does not like that kind of recognition, so I know he was not happy about that, but he deserves it for sure.
Well, it's a new decade. We are with Sue Kanoho, our executive director. We entered 2020, of course. You got any foresights, predictions? You got anything, barring anything crazy that what this...
I should just start with barring anything crazy. Yeah, I mean, I think we should be happy with 1.2 or 1.3 million visitors a year is a substantial amount of people, and that's going to be our cap if we don't change any of the infrastructure. And I'm not sure a lot of people want to change too much of the infrastructure because Kauai is special the way it is. So I think people just need to start planning. You know, you can't have year-over-year growth for the next 10 years and expect to have, you know, 1.8 million or 1.9 million or 2 million. I mean, we don't have the capability to handle. The airport doesn't. There's not enough parking, as you know, at the airport. They run out of parking. So I think everybody just has to acknowledge that there's kind of a limit to what we can handle, and let's be happy with what we have and make sure we're doing it the best way possible. And let's go back and fix the things that need attention. You know, there's some areas on island that do need some work, and I think we're all trying to do that together. Well,
that's so very, very well said. Of course, we are here with our executive director, our very, very dear friend. Thank you for all the work that you've done. Thank you for leading the industry. Thank you for being a part of the Hawaii Hotel and Lodging Association, the Hawaii Hotel Association, everything else. And so we want to wish you a beautiful new year. You want to just share your aloha out to all your pals out there, all your pals being many, many different sectors of pals, but you know, you got to deal, you got to deal with a lot of different.
Yeah, I mean, it's always to me an honor to represent this island. I do take it to heart on a lot of stuff. People say, you know, you shouldn't take that personally, Sue Kanoho, but I do. It's hard to separate myself from the job because I just so believe in our island and the visitor industry. And as much as possible, you know, when we see something that needs attention and maybe we shouldn't be doing something, we'll talk about it, like water safety. We'll say, make sure we need to step it up. But thanks to everybody for all your support, especially this last year, the year prior going through the flood. It does take all of us working together, and they did a great job. And special thanks to you, Dickie. What would we do without all those years of walaau? Thank you for your support. And Bruce as well, who I've been grateful for. So appreciate all that you've done for Kauai as well.
Thank you. That was Sue Kanoa, our Executive Director. We're going to have to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll be speaking to the President and CEO of our Kauai Chamber of Commerce, Mark Perriello, and of course, our incoming chairperson for the Chamber of Commerce 2020, the lovely, radiantly talented, and effervescent Miss Texas, Michelle Imura. We're going to have to take a short break. You want to say hello to Mark and Michelle before they get here?
Always grateful to them for their support. We're a team, you know, we all work together, and I'm always grateful. We talk to each other, what about this, what about that, or how do you feel about this? We're feeling this way, so we all talk to each other. It's a team, and you lucky to have Michelle Imura.
Lucky.
Miss
Texas. We'll have to take a short break. Don't go away. Walaau sukano. We'll be right back. Yes, and thank you, Sue. And we want to take this opportunity to share our aloha to everyone in the visitor industry, and of course to our very dear friend, our Executive Director of our Kauai Visitors Bureau and her staff, Sue Kanoho. Let's head on over to the Kauai Chamber of Commerce. There we caught up with our present chairperson of the Chamber, the lovely Michelle Imura, and of course our very dear friend, our fearless leader of our Kauai Chamber of Commerce, the President and CEO, the dapper, Mark Perriello. Brother Mark, take it away. Evening.
It was an amazing evening. First of all, I want to thank Wilcox Health for sponsoring the event. Every year for the past 3 years, they've been our chief sponsor, and I can't think of a better organization to work with for that event. And over the years, it's been growing. I started at the Chamber about 5 years ago, and when we first started, we had about maybe 300, 350 people at this event, and we had over about 600 people show up last month, which was absolutely outstanding.
You have to say, Mark Perriello, maybe the brilliant minds of Wilcox Health knew that if they're going to put some eggs in some baskets, may as well put the eggs in the baskets of the Kauai Chamber of Commerce, because I remember when you first came in, and I do remember those big events at 350, and then, you know, like in November-ish, last minute Kauai style,
right?
It was already over 350, figuring, oh, we'll cap out at 400 or we'll cap out at 450, and it just came like we're sold out. Then everybody comes begging you, Anna and Carol, to get you guys in, get you in, and then when you say 600 people, it was pretty much up until the minute of the event starting that they could still come in and just...
Yeah, it was great. We had to actually change some things around, so we were sold out. And so we went to the hotel, and Paul Toner, the general manager there, and said, Paul, we need to get more people into this event. And so he's like, if you let us set the room up differently, we can get more people in. And so we set the room up differently. They were able to accommodate those 600 people, and it was absolutely fantastic. And as we were talking just a little bit before we went on air, you know, one of the great things about this event, and one of the reasons why you could tell it was so successful, is that people didn't leave after, right? They just kept, they were there, and they wanted to talk to each other and enjoy each other's company, and it was really fantastic.
It's such a joyous and wonderful. I know it was the holidays, but some people get bored, or somebody figured, oh, let's go grind and let's dig out of here and do something else, but everybody was hanging. You're with literally your right-hand man, no offense, but can you introduce us to your present, brand new chair of our Chamber of Commerce?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm really excited. Every 2 years I get a new boss at the Chamber of Commerce, and this year coming in is Michelle Imura. She is just an outstanding leader in this community. She has been a part of this community for decades. She knows where, you know, she knows everything about everything when it comes to Kauai, and so I'm excited to get to work with you, Michelle, to learn from you, and to really see this chamber go from where it is now to even bigger and better things.
How is a chairperson, in this case a chairwoman, selected?
So they are voted on by the board of directors, and so each year the board elects a new executive committee, and from the executive committee a board chair is selected.
You know, before we formally introduce our very, very dear friend Michelle Imura, I would like to say, as a chairperson for our Military Affairs Committee, she brought me on the Military Affairs Committee, and it's so true and dear to my heart, not knowing what the military did as a kid living in Waiwa, but soon thereafter as an adult I realized the men and women of the Wheeler Air Force Base and Schofield Barracks. And I've known Michelle since I've been on the island, pretty much almost literally. And I tell my friends that know us as being different people, if you know what I mean. I said, oh, this Waiini's got it down. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like the minutes and just the communication and the you know, like everything surrounding what a real meeting is like to be, like the whole from the call to order and everything thereafter. So I guess it's a wonderful opportunity for all of Kauai to thank you in advance, Michelle Imura, for taking on this wonderful task and leading us into this calendar year 2020.
Oh, it's completely an honor. I just wanted to start off by telling everybody thank you for all your donations for the silent auction, because that's a really important part of that fourth quarter dinner, so that we can keep funding the scholarships and the things that we do as a chamber. And yes, you know, I've stepped down from the chair position for the Kauai Military Affairs Council. Fred Cowell is from Kauai Coffee is now stepping in. He was our vice chair for 2-3 years now. And so I'll just be going off and still participating, but then we have Jay Yoon as a vice chair, and then Dickie, thank you for everything you've always done by being there. And also, just also if we want to just talk about maybe where we're going this year, you know, we had an incredible strategic planning exercise last year by Playbook. And you were a part of that, so thank you very much. There was a lot of participation from a lot of leaders and people who are engaged in the chamber and members of the chamber. So I think that we created a really good, credible product. And you know, now it's just kind of my job to continue that and to revisit what we have to revisit, make sure we're checking the boxes, because obviously at the end of year, with the type of turnout we had at that chamber dinner, it was the return is showing.
So right now I'm starting to figure, bing! Now I'm thinking about it, because when Mark Perriello said he had to call General Manager Paul Toner to get the 600 people in, and Paul said, hey, if you help, let us do it our way, we can get everybody in. And only now I'm thinking the reason that they had to reconfigure was that had to be the biggest silent auction in the history of the...
Yeah, Michelle, you're so right. I can't believe I forgot to mention the silent auction. There were so many incredible things at that silent auction, from a drone, right, to, you know, stays at hotels all across the state. And so it was really wonderful, and we were able to do that because people give those items and those opportunities to us, so that we can raise that extra cash at the end of the year, which is so important.
Well, and you know what, in this given day and age, everybody kind of wants to jump on the bandwagon. Everybody wants to go hang out with the winner. But, you know, when you see things not moving, people say, hey, you know what, I'll pass. But then I think everybody was saying, look, if I can't come, let me donate something. If I can't come, I'll donate something. But let me be a part of Kauai Chamber of Commerce.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think people, Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that people want to be a part of this organization right now. And one of the main reasons that people want to be a part of this organization is because of the types of people who are a part of the organization, right? You know, people don't hang out at parties after the party's over because they don't like the people they're with. Right? They enjoy each other's company. They want to see each other be successful. They want to help each other with their businesses. And really, that's what it's all about. It's about creating opportunity for yourself as a business person, but also creating opportunities for each other.
You know, Michelle Imura, you made mention just very shortly, you had said that, you know, we have scholarship funds for those, you know, that qualify or are needy or what have you. But what other monies raised from the, you know, like from maybe like membership dues or silent auctions? What other ways is this money circulated throughout the community?
Well, a good example is when the floods came. You know, we want to be able to participate and have those opportunities as a chamber to be able to, you know, help the community where we can. And that takes funding. So those are some of the things. And maybe Mark has some other ideas. But yeah, and and then just shifting here for a second, you know, when Mark was talking about the organization, you know, in my job with Aqua Engineers, I travel to other islands. I'm participating in other organizations statewide, and we are truly a dynamic chamber. And the folks who come here who are corporates, you know, have their corporate headquarters in Oahu or what have you there, they're blown away. So with the great work of Mark and Anna and Carol, and you know, we hope to anticipate a little bit, you know, we're looking for someone maybe part-time to help, you know, continue to beef up the staff, because there is just amazing amounts of things that we are so excited to get to this year.
You know, that reminds of how special Kauai really is, because when Mark said, the funny thing about it is you hang with people to hang because you like, and for people that come from the other islands, you know, I always had said this, I don't really believe that people here think about how much money do you make, or what do you do, how many jobs do you hold, or you're not a CEO, you're whoever you are. But I don't really believe people kind of care, you know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't matter about the status. It's just like, okay, we're all in this whole thing together, and this is what Kauai is all about, you know?
Well, you know, you're going to see somebody in Costco, you're going to be with them in, you know, the DMV line, we do things together, relationships are everything, and I think that everywhere you hear that across the state. So it's important for people to work together and engage together and live together in a community. So,
you know, as the president of CEO of our Kauai Chamber of Commerce, if you just joined us, I'm here with Mark Perriello, and of course our chairperson officially, Michelle Imura. But I do want to say, as your tenure progressed in 4.5 years, 3 years, 3.5 years, I think what was probably the coolest thing within the past 1.5 or 2 years is there was no openings whatsoever with hosting Thursday business after hours, like the calendar. I mean, it wasn't like, okay, what month would you want, or what week would you want? It was, this is what we have left.
Right. It sort of is like that. You know, those events, the hosts of those events sign up early, usually in the beginning of the year. And so we actually have a few spots available. And so if you're interested in hosting an event with the Chamber, contact the office. Can I give the phone number?
Yes.
245-7363. And, you know, feel free to reach out. It's a really great way to promote your business, and a great way to do a lot of networking in the community.
And it's very interesting because if a community thinks, oh, well, I live on the west side, or I'm in Kilauea. I remember when we did that at Na'ainakai. Remember when we had a chamber function out over there, and we're thinking, okay, we're in the boonies, and then yet you show up, there's 200 plus people there at the function there in Kilauea. It's like wild, huh?
Right, yeah, it is. It's totally wild. You know, those are similar to the big events that we have. You know, when I first started, we would have maybe 30, 40 people at an event, and now we're looking at 100, 150 people. And again, I think it just goes to show that there is a strong, vocal business community here on Kauai that really supports each other.
You know, Michelle, we were chatting about the board of directors, how they're selected. But when we see those that are representing this year's board, and you see them across, you know, front row, back row, taller people standing, it's like, where do you get these people? Because everybody knows these people, and it's a nucleus of, you know, brains, experience, trust, and innovation. Is that a good way to?
I think that's, and visionary, and people who just know the community are you know, in love with the community and really want the best for the community. And so we do, you're right, I mean, from anything from tourism to retail to restaurants to, you know, just across the board. And what Mark was speaking to earlier, you know, it's not just, you know, Lihue-centric. We're definitely reaching out across the, you know, the island, and you know, doors are open anytime. We're trying to figure out ways to, you know, to be in all those places and see what people's needs are.
One of the things I would add to that really quickly, sorry Dickie, is that we have committees, volunteer committees that really do a lot of the organizing for the Chamber. And it's been really difficult for people on the west side or the North Shore to get to the meetings in Lihue. And so now we actually are going to be able to teleconference people into those meetings. So if you're up in Hanalei or out in Waimea, you don't have to make that commute into Lihue to be a part of the Chamber. You can be there, be a vocal participant, because we're going to use technology now in order to make that happen.
Now, not that you're the president or the CEO of the Chamber, but have you seen, name 5 top things in the 5 past years that you can think of collectively that you have seen changes for the positive in this past 5 years?
For the Chamber or for the community?
Both.
Both. So I think one of the biggest changes that's happened at the Chamber is the number of people who are part of the Chamber. And so last year alone, we had about 100 new members sign up. And that's really important because the business-to-business connections that people are able to make are expanded when we have more members. The second thing I think we've done a lot of work towards is helping make sure that when there are things happening at the county council or over in Honolulu or even all the way in Washington, D.C., that our members have a voice through the Chamber on the different legislative and policy priorities that are happening. And third, I think we're becoming much more of a resource to our members. We have lunch and learns now where people can come and learn about different things from technology to what have you.
The new conference room, which is a great gathering place as a member. The cost is really minimal. Others are welcome, but there's a different fee structure on that. So that's been a great addition, and that's where we're going to do our technology interface when we do have meetings.
Excuse me for interrupting, but if one can answer, there are different tiers of memberships. For example, there's an individual member, there's a small business member, or a lot. Can you explain what the various packages are that people can?
I can, to some extent. So the fee structure is based on number of employees, and so you can join as an individual. You can also join as a business, and if you have 0 to 10 employees, then that's one fee. 11 to 20 employees, that's a different fee. 21 to 30, and then it just keeps going up from there. And so it's very reasonable. As far as I'm concerned, it's really one of the cheapest games in town. It's about $215 for if you have 10 or less employees to join the chamber. Excuse me, to join the chamber, and you get so much in return for that. You get opportunities to promote your business. You get opportunities to communicate with our members. You get opportunities to host events and be a part of events as well.
Well, the networking is there. It's up to you to go follow up. When you said, hey, can you call me, or take that initiative and say, I'll call you Monday morning. Make sure when you tell somebody you're going to call them at 8 o'clock in the morning, make sure you call them about 8, and that gets a lot of respect. Like, oh, you remembered. I forgot about that, but thank you for remembering.
And I was going to add to that, we have new member circles before the dinners and the meetings. And that is exactly what we explain to them is, you're going to get out what you put in and what you come, look to us for. So we've got a lot of tools and all, and we're here for you. So.
And they're the ones that meet a half an hour or an hour before, how's it, I'm so-and-so, I'm so-and-so, I'm so-and-so. And then when the meeting kicks in, oh, by the way, these are the new meetings. They get a round of applause. They started.
Well, I was just going to speak to maybe one of the top 5 things I've noticed in the last 4 or 5 years is the addition of the Kauai Military Affairs Council. We know that PMRF is, one of the top tiers in the county, and we also know that we have an incredible veterans community here. So I think through the last 3 years or so, the addition of the Kauai Military Affairs Council has been a real honor, and to be able to reach out and to engage, and PMRF will engage with us if we feel like there's some communication that needs to be done, and we and we reach out to our businesses and our resources. So.
Yeah, and I just on that note, I got a little bit of a post, and I want to say aloha to our mutual, very, very dear friend, Stephanie Iona, because I remember prior to you arriving, Stephanie was once the former general manager of the Waimea Plantation Cottages, and I do think that Stephanie, along with husband Charlie and her staff, was really the ones that reached out and branched the bridge between PMRF, Waimea, and the entire community, because sometimes local people have all these military guys or military, they don't want to engage or come off base because they think the local people are, they don't want the military, or everybody's got what they got to say. But I just do want to give my kudos to Stephanie and, of course, husband Charlie. But I also want to take this opportunity to share our aloha out to, as we all remember, Keiko Pu'u, because that was another one of the local women here that really embraced, with her connections on the military and being the secretary for the commander, to go into a community which she's born and raised, and her family is over here. I mean, those to me were the big changes to to really bridge the military community into the business community, and the business community to I mean, they're the largest employer on this island of Kauai. Give me a break. I mean, there's a lot of, how cool is that when people don't have to drive into Lihui to buck the traffic, as you now know, the single lane. You guys know, you guys drive the one-way coming in. But how cool is that if you live close on the west side and you get a great federal job with all the benefits and all this other stuff, and you're just cruising because there's no traffic going that way. I can tell you that,
Right. Yeah, no, that is true. Those are two amazing women, and they've done so much for our community. And we're very fortunate. Stephanie is still very involved with the chamber and still helping us, you know, where she can and how she can. If I have my way, maybe she'll be back on the board someday. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Not to worry, because it's one of these once on the board, always on the board, because they're all on board. You know, they don't have to have that title to be on board, because when the call is there for Kokua, they're all going to use their expertise, their contacts, their connections, and they'll all Kokua.
And examples of that is Laura Yoshida, because she was part of the chamber. I think was the chair many years back, and so now she's now serving on the executive board, along with Marinelle Valenzuela with InkSpot, and then we have Wade Lord, who's thankfully stayed on as our treasurer. And he's with CB Richard Ellis. And then we have, I'm forgetting one person. Is that it?
Well, you got
Laurie,
you.
Marinelle, yeah. Oh, myself,
Wait,
hey.
right?
Forgetting the most important people.
No. But anyways, and yeah, and then we just want to make sure that we're going to mention the other committees, because they're the events committee is, you know, has done amazing things. We can't do it without the events committee. You know, so that's a really exciting one to get on if people want to see, kind of get out there and network and what have you. And then the membership committee, and I think there's a new name for it now with Ann.
Member services.
Member services, because that's part of our strategic plan, is to provide more services. So it's not just being a member, it's being member, and then we're going to be growing our services.
And correct me if I'm wrong, if you are an individual member that just joined the chamber, that doesn't beholden you to say, hey, I want to get on this committee, or I want to volunteer to get on that committee. Anybody can get on the committee? Is that how that works?
You need to be a member of the chamber to
No,
be
but
on
once
the...
you become a member.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, once you become a member, you can volunteer for any of these committees.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then since we need to go plug everybody, I'd like to give my aloha out to Laura Yoshida. Laura Yoshida is that one type of a one call pow kind of thing, and then some crazy action happens. Marinelle Valenzuela, there at InkSpots, first of all, she doesn't sleep. I mean, she doesn't need any sleep, and her team don't sleep. I can say a lot of things about Wade Lord, but I'm just going to say what up there about Wade. But anyway.
And you know what? We did forget someone. How could we forget Beth Tokioka?
Exactly.
Yes. I apologize,
really
Beth.
forget,
No. Yeah, Beth is our chair-elect, and so
Yeah.
at the end of Michelle's 2 years, she will be the incoming chair.
You can say.
You need a whole episode for her as
Right.
well, for sure.
Yes, and I had an opportunity to see Beth yesterday. As many of you know, she's my neighbor right down the road. But you can tell how determined she is. She set a goal physically, and if you've all seen Beth recently,
Yeah.
she gets up first thing in the morning, runs, walks the dog, does what she got to do what she's got to do. And that is one smart cookie, let me tell you.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited to work with Beth and have been excited to work with her the past 5 years, and can't wait for her to just do even more great things with the chamber.
Which that night was very, very magical, because when we saw the people standing on the stage, we were like that, whoa, is this one nucleus of brains and brawn or what? You know what I mean?
Well, I can't speak to that, so. But I think it's a reflection. It's a reflection of the organization, and that, you know, people really are trying their best to be inclusive, you know, island-wide, and to take care of this community, and get people successful and moving forward.
You got any personal goals for yourself? And what's in the Miss Texas, Michelle Imura crystal ball, as far as perhaps can we break it down to the first quarter, or maybe, you know, as we wind down the year come November and December, are there any things that you have already thought about, like you would want to accomplish collectively?
No, I just think that, I mean, we talked about just making sure that we're focusing on our main 3 strategic areas. And I think that as we listen to the board, we listen to our members, and we go forward, then we'll know what's going to rise to the top and what we should deal with and whatever. So, you know, just seeing how that rolls, and, you know, responding to it.
You see anything rising to the top right off the bat?
Absolutely. I see my new boss here making sure that I stay in line, that I'm doing everything we need to do in order to keep the chamber running smoothly, running effectively, and delivering for our members.
You made mention a little earlier about having 100 new members in the calendar year 2019. Does this ever come to an end, or the more the merrier? How does that work?
Oh, the more the merrier. You know, there are, according to the Department of Labor, about 6,000 businesses here on Kauai. That includes everyone who's ever filed paperwork for a business, but so there's a lot more potential, a lot more potential.
I think one of the coolest things that members should be doing is inviting people in the general public to say, hey, would you like to attend, be my guest and attend your first Chamber of Commerce meeting and see how it works and all this other fun stuff? I mean, isn't that one duty that we should all be doing by just saying, hey, talk about the Chamber and say, hey, wait a minute, you're new, you got a new business, you want to meet some people, you want to come join us for a business after hour, you want a quarterly dinner and stuff like that. I mean, I don't think anybody would be disappointed, the attendee or the invitee, correct?
I don't think they would. Yeah, no, I think that we always are encouraging our members to bring new people to the table, to the organization. And, you know, I'm not like a high pressure sales guy, right? Like, come check it out. If it's the right fit for you, it's going to be the right fit. If it's not the right fit, it's not the right fit. We aren't going to, you know, be there with a piece of paper and a pen, you know, forcing you to sign up, right? But we would love you all to take the opportunity to learn more.
Yeah, basically it is what it is. I mean, you want to show up, you show up.
Right.
You don't want to show up, nobody's going to say, hey, where's that person? Where'd they go? Where'd they go?
Right,
I mean, it's like out of sight, out of mind, really.
Right.
You know, when you really do think about that. But, you know, I want to say congratulations to the both of you folks. Haole makahiki ho. Looking forward for a great 2020. I mean, 2020, how cool is that? You know, we got a vision, a 2020 vision. So you want to say hello to anybody out there, inquiring minds? Or let me ask you this question, our brand new chairwoman, give me 2 reasons to be involved with give us 2 reasons to be involved with the Chamber.
I would say definitely my number 1 is we need you at the table. We need you involved so we can make sure everybody is being represented. And number 2 is, you know, it's an opportunity to really network with people and to really get to know. You know, I think, you know, we have that whole joke about nobody crosses bridges. But, you know, I mean, this is a way to really engage and to get the word out about your business and to do what it takes. I mean, it's hard, right? Hard work to run a business, live in paradise, you know, and who wants to leave the beach, right? so yeah.
When you say something like nobody crosses bridges, but we just want to let everybody know, not that it happens, but it's not wrong to agree to not disagree, because that's just how great decisions. You got any 2 cool words off your sleeves as to what's it? Why should we be involved in the Chamber?
I think the number 1 reason to be involved in the Chamber is because you never know what opportunities are going to present themselves when you come to these events. People's businesses are growing, they're finding new ideas, new ways of doing their business that more effectively, because they're talking with folks who are running businesses. And you know, when you're with a group of your peers like that, the opportunities are just tremendous. And I think the second thing is when you're running a business, you don't always have the time to go sit and listen to a county council hearing, right? But we do. And so you enable your voice to be heard through the Chamber in a lot of those policy discussions.
You know, it's one of those funny things. You don't know what you have until it's gone. And yet, if we cannot communicate to our own residents and our populace here on Kauai, like this is a really cool thing, I would say that the greatest evidence is that when we have people from the mainland or the other islands or Honolulu that comes over and say, brah, sister, you guys got it. You guys got this thing down. And coming from somebody from the outside to observe what has been magically but professionally been going on over here, that's kind of like one of the best compliments that you would ever have. And then with all of that being said, please, Madam Chair, please share. Please, yeah, you don't have to throw down your gavel yet. Okay, but please share a wonderful holiday post message welcoming us into the New Year's and sharing all your aloha to the residents and visitors alike on the island of Kauai.
Well, aloha, Kauai, and 2020 is pretty exciting. I mean, we have a lot to look forward to. It feels like there's just people are thriving. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done. It's a time to maybe not rebuild, but you know, go a little bit farther and you know, just prepare. I love the island, and thank you to all my coworkers and my buddies and Mark and his staff and all my fellow board members for working hard for that. So, and all the members, thank you.
Beautifully, very well said. And Mark Perello, you've come a extremely long way, and you've been a great, great friend of all of us in the past 5 years. And this must have been one of the most exciting rides, especially when you settle in and you can jump at the beach, you can hang out, and then you can own your own lychee tree. How's that, bro?
I do. When are you going to come take some of my lychee? Right? Yeah, next year when it's blooming, you need to come by. It is the biggest lychee tree on the whole island, I think. It is quite gigantic, and so plenty of lychee. But, you know, before we part ways, I want to thank you and the man behind the camera, Bruce. I heard the news today that you all are going to be retiring from Walaau. And, you know, the service that you all have done to for the community is really tremendous and really appreciated. And it's going to be a real void without you here doing this. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Wasn't expecting that. However, make it clear, Bruce is gracefully going to be retiring. I will never, ever, ever financially be able to retire.
All right.
And I don't think if I got the health, I don't think I want to retire. I just want to kind of like want to be out there. But just as a little trivia footnote, when Mark Perello came and somewhere in and about the greater downtown Omao, moved in, had a big lychee tree, and he tells me, hey, bruh, come over, grab some lychee, help yourself. Not knowing that the roosters would mop the lychees first. The rose ring green parrots will be second. And then, of course, the neighbors that just curiously are in the top of your trees, and they got these big bamboo poles grabbing their own. So by the time Dickie Chang made it, let's just set that clear. You didn't have to ask me if I wanted lychee. You realized how much gold lychee is, because the next thing you know, Allah's lychee, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It disappears. And it's the birds and the people. Yeah, they're always out there. But you know what? Everyone's welcome.
Welcome to Kauai and aloha. With that being said, we're going to have to take a short break. The lovely Miss Texas, Michelle Imura, our chairwoman, and of course our president and CEO extraordinaire, Mark Perello. We're going to have to take a short break. Our good friends will be right back. Voila. Thank you, Mark, and thank you, Michelle, and thank you to all that make this beautiful island of Kauai, first and foremost, a wonderful place to live, a part of and not apart from our community, our Garden Island, Kauai. Ask not what my county can do for you, but what you can do for the county. Join the chamber. Further information, call 245-7363. Again, that number is 245-7363. And again, congratulations to the chairperson of this year's Chamber of Commerce, the lovely Michelle Imura, Miss Texas, and of course, our president and CEO of the Chamber, Mark Perello. It is time for us to heli on. As always, let's all continue to take care of our families, our friends, the Malahini and the Aina, and we'll check you guys out next week only, all together, boys and girls, on Walaau. Walaau, 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 Walaau.